Let me know when you're ready.
Just confirmation for me.
Yes.
I like where that's sitting.
Okay, I guess as ready as I'll ever be.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a little after 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Bigger, roll call, please.
Harrington. Perkins.
Here.
Musgrave. Brandon.
Here.
Kinnaman.
Here.
Kyer.
Here.
Delaney.
Here. We have a quorum. I'll entertain a motion to excuse Ms. Musgrave and Mr. Harrington.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right. Motion and support to excuse Mr. Harrington and Ms. Musgrave. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Consent agenda. All items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Village Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately immediately after consent agenda approval in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. What is the pleasure of council?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
I'll second that.
Motion and support to approve the consent agenda as written. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Brandon.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Presentation from Robert Wittenberg, Oakland County Treasurer. Mr. Wittenberg, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening? Is it still light out? Change the time.
Right.
Well, I appreciate you all having me here today. I was here, a couple weeks ago for the township, and I'm back again. Trying to make my way around the county as much as possible. It's not easy. There's 63 cities, villages, and townships in Oakland County, so I won't be able to get to all of them. But this is the time in the tax cycle for closure. And so April 1st is the deadline for people that owe taxes 3 years and prior. So I'm getting out and making sure I chat with everyone and encourage people to reach out to us. So have a little bit of a slideshow I'll go over with you. I think it's just about 4 or 5 pages. It's quick. I'll be in and out, and then head over to Commerce next. So, and I appreciate my help behind me here. So we'll go on to the next slide and probably go through them real quick. But just to give you kind of an idea of some of the stuff that we do within our office, those numbers actually need to be updated. But I actually met with Deborah here and saw Jerry. When I first got into office in 2021, I went around and met with as many of the local treasurers as I could out of 63, 62 technically, but 63. I think I met with 57, and then I went back around again in the summer and fall this last year and met with 59 of them. So I was up here, making sure that every community knows that we're here to help and that we want to partner with you. Right, the county does a really great job of working alongside all of our local communities. So it just gives you an idea of some of the things that we're doing in our office, the money that we're collecting, dispersing, investing. We invest on behalf of some of the local communities as well with our local government investment pool. So this just gives you an idea of some of the things that go on in our office. So we'll move to the next slide. So this is the idea of why I'm here is the foreclosure prevention work that we're doing. So again, anyone that owes 2021 and prior year taxes is subject to foreclosure this year because it's a 3-year cycle. So to give you an idea of the work that we're doing, so this was last year, right? So the 2023 cycle, so it was 2020 taxes and prior. In Oakland County, we are blessed to have a pretty affluent county, people that do well, but not everyone. There are some people that struggle. But overall, 96% of people pay their taxes on time. When you pay your taxes on time, you're paying it to your, here it would be Holly, village, township, you're paying it here. But if you don't pay it on time, then it gets turned over to the treasurer, and then the county treasurer. And that's why after that, so the first year is local, and then it comes to us for about 2 more years that you have to pay for it, pay your taxes. So, for example, your taxes that were due for 2023 got turned over to us in March. March 1st, they were turned over to us. So, just gives kind of people an idea of the timeline. So, what this shows is for the 2023 taxes, 2020 taxes, so in 2023, 44,000, almost 45,000 people or parcels got turned over delinquent to us. That 43,000 is in essence what was paid, and then the rest of those numbers kind of show the repayment agreements. So what we do is, again, just like the local community, we cannot forgive your taxes, lower your taxes, interest and fees. It's all state statute, what's built in there, and there's nothing we can do. What we can do is try to work with you and give you more time, give you a repayment agreement to pay, and also see if there's any resources available. So of that almost 45,000, last year only 95 parcels went to a tax sale. So at the end of the year, if we cannot get into a repayment agreement with someone or they don't pay their taxes, it goes to a tax sale. It was the lowest we've ever had here in Oakland County, was those 95 parcels out of the hundreds of thousands of parcels here in Oakland County. So that gives you an idea of kind of how this works. And then this is our time, starting in December, we started what's called our taxpayer assistance meetings. So those are one-on-one calls that we have to talk about people's unique situation, to see how we can help them to get them into a repayment agreement and see what we can do. And that's how we work with people. So we'll go to the next slide. So this gives you kind of the timeline of what we're working on, right? You talked about the 3-year process. The deadline this year, it's normally March 31st, but because it's on a weekend, it falls on April 1st this year. It falls on a weekend, so April 1st is the deadline. What I tell everyone is, and I will say this, if you don't remember anything else I say today, please remember that we're here to help, that you have to reach out to us, right? We don't know if someone has a problem or is having issues unless they tell us they're having issues. So within our office, we do those TAMs, so those are one-on-one calls with people to talk about their unique situation. We also have our Financial Empowerment Center, so we have a, Rita who runs that department is like a financial coach, and so she can help people put together a budget, help them with debt relief, even help small businesses put together a business plan. So she's really great about that. To reach out to us about those TAMs, those one-on-one tax meetings, call our office, 248-858-0611. Go to our website, it's oakgov.com/treasurer. You should be able to find both of it there. To talk to Rita, our Financial Empowerment Center, you can call directly, 248-807-5287. So the next one over is the community outreach. So that's what we're doing right now, right? As I'm trying to get to as many communities as possible to talk to them about the help that we offer within our office. So what we can do to try to prevent foreclosure. We also have kind of robust, I know Oakland County, the Oakland County Times. They're up here in this area, Crystal. So we did an ad with them on TV, on like Google. And online ads as well. So everything we can to really tell people, like our goal in our office, I always tell people, our goal is not to foreclose, our goal is to collect taxes. That's our job, right? We're trying to collect taxes. We're not trying to foreclose on anyone, but we need to work with people. So that's what we're doing right now. Just to give you an idea, in the village, as of right now, there's 7 properties that are at risk, still 7 properties at risk of foreclosure that have not reached out to us or have not paid their taxes. So we have that number as of Friday. So just FYI. And if any of you, it's public information, right? It's public information. So if any of you wanted to get that information, it's a neighbor of yours and you want to go knock on their door, I'm happy to provide that to anyone. Just to let you know, the outreach that we've done, they've received certified mail, first class mail, and we posted their property twice. So if it's a structure, they get it put on their property or on the structure. If it's vacant, it gets staked on the property. So just FYI. So we're doing all the work that we can to try to prevent foreclosure, and again, that's why I'm here today. So we'll go to the next slide. I think I probably covered everything on this slide, and I'll just start talking and then end up talking through all my talking points. But Financial Empowerment Center, reaching out to our office. The other thing is, you all use our equalization as your assessor, right? So there is, for people to know, there is a poverty exemption. So based on income, you could be, you can get an exemption for a certain percentage of your property taxes based on income, but you would have to call equalization to try to get that going. And that number is 248-858-0740. Last thing is an outside entity that we work closely with. We're not affiliated, but we refer a lot of people over to. Lakeshore Legal Aid is a free legal service for low-income families and seniors. And they help with everything but traffic citations and criminal law. So they're there to help. Their number 888-783-8190, and then their website, lakeshorelegalAid.org. And then we'll go to the last slide, which I think that's it. So my contact information is up there. Again, you can reach out. My pitch again is if you need help, please tell us you need help. Please reach out to us. Call us 248-858-0611. Email us treasurer@oakgov.com on any issue. And I think I gave you a card to talk on another issue as well. But I'm always here to help. I'm always happy to help, and I'm glad I was able to get up here and say hello to everyone and kind of talk about the work that we're doing. And again, we really want to help and make sure that if someone needs help, that they get the help that they need. So with that, I'll finish and answer any questions if anyone has any questions or needs anything else.
Any questions for Mr. Wittenberg?
No, just
If
thank
a
you for your
property
presentation.
goes to tax sale,
Yep.
how long is it available for that owner to purchase back?
So it is, the tax foreclosure process is kind of the inverse of the mortgage foreclosure. The mortgage foreclosure, right, you have a contract with a private company, and then usually you have 6 months, whatever it is, 3 to 6 months, and then they give you time to redeem it. On this side of it, once it's foreclosed,
That's it.
it's gone, right? It vests with the treasurer, and that's why we do all this outreach on the front end to try to not get to that point, right? So what happens is April 1st, the treasurer then owns it, and then our sale, like this year, I think the sale is August 18th. As I said, last year there were only 95 parcels that were at sale. This year we won't know that number until after April 1st. But they are not able to redeem.
Okay.
They can bid on it, right? They can try to buy it at the sale, but why wait until that point? Why not get in touch with us now? That's the whole point of it. So that's why we're doing that outreach. And then also one of the things, I was a legislator before I became the treasurer, and I was there when we actually implemented change. I apologize, I have a cough drop here, so changes in the weather. We changed it so that now the law reads that if someone does lose their property, they can file a claim form, and then if the property sells for more than what was owed, and there's also some fees and whatever added, that they are entitled to the surplus. So they do get their equity. So that's something else that we're very proactive about. So if they do get foreclosed, we send out that form for them to submit to get their equity back in the house, any kind of surplus. So,
Thank you.
but the sale will be in August. So hopefully that answers your
Yes,
question.
it does.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Mr. Wittenberg.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you all. Again, reach out if you need anything, and then I'm off to my next meeting, but you know how to reach me, so please reach out. And thank you all for the work you're doing.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Public comment. Members of the public may address council once recognized by the chairperson. Comments are limited to a maximum of 4 minutes for items not on the agenda. Council may extend this time by up to an additional 4 minutes by a majority vote. For items on the agenda, comments may be made after council discussion prior to council vote. Prior to addressing council, members of the public will please state their name and address for the record. Is there anyone for public comment? Yes, Ms. Everly.
I'm Sherilyn Everly from 314 Hadley Street. I appreciate Mr. Wittenberg's comments. The start of my comments is if government isn't working for the people, it isn't working. And he just gave great examples of how he's working for the people. I have 3 examples from the south side of the village that I'd like to share with you tonight of ways that I don't think the village is working for the people. Broad Street. Is it done? Did we get a warranty? It's rougher now than before the resurfacing. My favorite comment on Facebook was, well, before I could dodge the potholes, now it's just all rough. My question is, are we stuck with it? My second issue is parking downtown. About this time last spring, when we were discussing in the council meetings whether we should have Tuesday night markets, several of the people who live downtown commented that parking is an issue. Our Chief Narsh told us at that meeting that he was working on a parking plan that was going to be available by the Dickens Festival. Unless that plan included people parking on the dirt lot on Broad Street, from Broad Street to the railroad depot, and using the service lane off of Sherman Street as an exit, I don't think that got done. We're coming up on spring and summer, farmers market twice a week, weddings, festivals, and all the things that bring people to downtown Holly. Will we have a plan in place before the summer tourist season begins? The people of Holly would like to know that their government is working for them to fix this problem. Which brings me to the burned out hulk that is Andy's Place. Almost 2 years and we still have 2 buildings that are just in stasis in one of the most visible parts of our historic downtown. The Moose Lodge tonight is voting on whether to expand the size of their club. Their membership has now surpassed 1,600 people. What a great impression we're giving to all those people as they walk up the steps to our community. Stuff burns up, we let it stand. Or stuff burns up and we let them get stopped in court and keep from reopening. I'm very sorry that the owners of Andy's Place suffered this loss. My memories encompass the El Capitan years, which is why I think the community has lived through this derelict building long enough. It's past time the village sets a deadline for the owners to present a renovation plan with financing and timelines, or submit a cost for the demolition. I realized when I was sitting here that Nick's report references another MEDC grant. Best of luck. Can we please set a deadline to shit or get off the pot? Over in Fenton, I assume Fenton must know more than we do because they've managed to provide land for parking and assistance with financing to the El Topo restaurant, which burned down 1 week after our disaster. Those options just must not be available for Andy's Place. Maybe the village can come up with some grants for demolition. Bottom line, if something doesn't get done with these burned out hulks in our most important part of downtown, you can spend all the money on streetscape and new trees you want. It's just lipstick on a pig. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else for public comment? All right, hearing none, seeing none. There is no old business. Item number 1 under new business, consideration of the approval of council action request to create a sister city committee. Was I going to have you introduce this?
I think that you might have been.
All right.
Okay.
Ms. Brandon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So a sister city relationship is an agreement between 2 geographically and politically distinct localities for the purpose of promoting cultural and commercial ties. Mr. Tony Engelberg offered to donate the first-year membership fee, and President Delaney submitted the following people to serve on the committee. Myself as the council liaison, April Brandon. Dave Elliott, he is one of the owners of Battle Alley Brew. Tony Engelberg, the one that brought this idea forward, and has served on previous committees, I think Planning Commission, if I remember right. And Cassandra Ray, our local karaoke celebrity host in Holly, Michigan, who's been a part of organizing a lot of different events that I thought would be a good addition to this committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What is the pleasure of council?
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we go with this, what are we calling it, a sister city committee.
Second.
All right. Motion by Perkins, support by Kinnaman, to approve the council action request to create a sister city committee. Is there any council discussion desired on this item?
I have one ethical concern with Mr. Engelberg being on this committee. He is currently under probation for harassment, and I just don't know that we should elect or appoint somebody like that onto one of our committees from an ethical standpoint. I don't know legally, Mr. Goldner, if you can weigh in on that.
Well, there's nothing in your charter which provides qualifications for a committee like this. This is an ad hoc advisory committee only, not a standing committee, not one by charter. So there are no such rules really to point to.
Does it raise any liability concerns, i.e., if this person has already been convicted of harassment and then goes on to do that, what does that bring onto the village?
If someone has some legal problems and is appointed to a committee and they continue those legal problems, I imagine I could foresee some situation where there could be liability, but extremely slim.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with any of the circumstances that may give rise or have given rise to whatever his legal problems are. So I don't see any real liability here in this instance. Ultimately, it's up to you who are the best choices for it, but that is not a disqualifying event in and of itself.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion desired on this item?
I don't have a council comment. I do have a comment from Tony Engelberg, who couldn't be here tonight, if it's open to the public.
Certainly.
Okay, then I'll put on my 4 minutes. Speaking on behalf of Tony Engelberg, good evening. I regret not being able to attend tonight's meeting. At the time you hear this, I will be helping herd children around the Huron Valley Easter egg hunt. I am very pleased to see movement and progress in the Sister City program. While I would have suggested waiting for direction from Sister Cities International before forming the committee, the great thing about this program is that there is ultimate flexibility. My only concern is the project move forward in a positive direction. It's come to my attention that my name has been brought forward to be a part of the committee for this project. At the time I made the donation, I indicated I would be happy to be involved, but the donation came with no strings, and I stand by that. If the board would like me to be involved, I accept. If not, that's okay. I am busier than ever, leading an active, drama-free life, doing many fulfilling things with my own business and jobs, and I know my value to those I work with because more doors continue to open for me on a regular basis. Let me say this with 100% transparency. It's no secret that 2 years ago my life hit a rocky point. However, in the last 2 years, not only have I climbed over the rocks, I have conquered the mountain. My life is not only good, it's better than it has been in years. I have owned my issues, continued to deal with them, and everyone who spends time around me sees the change and how the old happy Tony is back, and a big part of that change is not allowing drama into my world. The entire premise of the Sister City program is to foster community involvement, not just from the town VIPs or people who are affiliated with specific community groups. It should be for all members of the community to take part if they wish. So please, let's start the process off on the right foot. The last few times I made attempts to do positive things and get involved with our community resulted in being left with a bad taste in my mouth because I was treated like a piñata through the process. No private citizen should ever be mocked, ridiculed, shamed, or disrespected for bringing their name forward to volunteer for a board position. Until such time as a person is appointed, they are a private citizen and deserve to be treated with the same respect as any other taxpayer and resident would. It really comes down to, if you don't have something nice to say nothing at all. They say no good deed goes unpunished. I do not want my donation to this program to leave me with anything but positive vibes and joy. So I will wind up my comments by saying this. If you want my help, I am here. I would be glad to help, and I think everyone would see the person I am today, tomorrow, and going forward as someone you want around and involved. And I believe I have knowledge and life experience that would be an asset to the project. If not, no hard feelings. All I asked is to be treated with respect, and most importantly, that this project move forward. I made the donation with a good heart and nothing but the best of intentions. Whatever you decide to do tonight, let's get this going with the goal that we have guests from our sister city at Holidays 2024. My best to all of you, Tony Engelberg.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment on this item? Ms. Mattson?
Anna Matson, 15091 Western Valley. To find our charter, all you have to do is Google Village of Holly Charter, and it is the second link that comes up. Chapter 6 says functions of the council. From my understanding, this is what the council can and can't do, pretty much. So section 6.13, committees. A, the village council by resolution shall have the power to create committees comprised of 3 council members for the purpose of serving as a recommending an advisory body to the council. The president, with the approval of the council, shall appoint the members to serve on each committee. B, the committees created by the village council shall be under the direct control and supervision of the council. C, committees may be established for departments within the village governmental structure. D, committees will have the power to make recommendations to the village council at regular or special meetings of the council. E, committees will only have the power to study, investigate, and report back on matters referred to them by council. F, committees will not have the power to interfere in the day-to-day operation of the village administration. G, a department head or other village officer may request in writing to the council a meeting with a particular committee. The written request shall set forth the specific reason for said meeting. H, committees must present their reports to the village council at the next regular or special council meeting. So we've already formed a committee against this, and you are looking to form 2 more against this today. So once again, the village council by resolution shall have the power to create committees comprised of 3 council members. I read the entirety to you, so now you guys can't say, this is the second time I've read it to you for the record, so you can't say you didn't know. You can always take a recess and look at this yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mattson. Is there anyone else for public comment on this item? Mr. Shield.
Ryan Shield, 320 LeGrand Street, Holly, Michigan. If it makes anybody, or especially Ms. Kyer, feel comfortable, I'm willing to step up and fill the Tony or Mr. Engelberg's seat. I know I'm a little different in some ways, but I just for all for legal purposes, whatever, I'm willing to step up, fill his seat if need be. If you guys feel more comfortable with me in his seat, whatever, that's about it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else for public comment on this item? Ms. Everly.
Cheryl and Everly, 314 Hadley Street. Mom always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. However, I was privy to much of the vitriol and the horrible things that were said by Mr. Engelberg that has caused him to be under probation. And if that should ever be unleashed under the title of the Village of Holly, we should all be mortified.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else for public comment on this item? Is there any, Mr. Love, were you wanting to comment on this item?
Oh, no, I'm listening.
Oh, okay.
Could we ask for Mr. Gildner's perspective on the committee issue?
Yes, I would like that too, thank you. And I would frame the question as, Mr. Gildner, would you please, for everyone's benefit, explain for us the difference between a standing committee of the council and an ad hoc advisory committee?
So standing committees are those that, again, typically, they, like a personnel committee, for example, public safety, those sorts of things. They are longer lasting in terms of duration, usually. They are usually empowered with, very specific things like personnel or what have you. An ad hoc committee such as this right here is not one of those committees. This is advisory, much like a lot of standing committees are. But, this is temporary, clearly, just dealing with this particular issue. So I'm well aware of the charter provision. I was well aware of it, and if I wasn't, I was made aware of it last month. It's not new news. It doesn't change my opinion that I gave you. And as all of you just heard, that there's nothing in the charter which talks about what are disqualifying events or characteristics. It still is up to you, ultimately. But I don't change my opinion based upon what I've heard here tonight.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Tyre.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 2, under new business, consideration of the approval of council action request to receive the Parks Commission survey and results. Ms. Kyer, would you like to introduce this, please?
Yes. So I thought we're coming upon talking about budget season, and also just, I know that we all can't attend each other's meetings and different committees and things like that, so I just wanted to keep you guys abreast of what's been going on in the parks lately. So we had released a survey, shared it on multiple websites, put it on the GoGov delivery system. We had 115 responses, which is better than our last go around at our surveys. I think we had about 40. Basically, we just kind of summarized the results. The most used parks in our village are Lakeside, Crapo, and Waterworks. Then we asked people to rank what was important for them to see in their parks. And they wanted to see play structures, walking and running, and water activities. We gave them a ranking between 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. And we came in about middle of the road for most people. Most of them said that they currently use our parks to observe nature, walking and running, children's activities, and water activities. We were also asking them if they could come up with anything in the parks, what would they bring? They said they want us to focus on maintenance and cleaning up what we have. They wanted walking paths and trails accounted for 72 mentions of what people want. Dog park had 11 mentions, with 1 that asked for a place to walk dogs. 7 mentions for a skate park, 2 for a splash pad, and 1 for a pickleball court. They also asked for a better boat launch, a kayak launch, kayak lockers, and also baseball fields were mentioned 3 times. Some of their concerns were with the bathrooms at Lakeside. They want them remodeled with lighting inside. In terms of a safety perspective, they want more children's equipment. They ask a lot for remodeling of Crapo Park, but I think, as we all know, we don't technically own that property. So as a Parks Board, we're a little reticent to really spend too much money in that park. They want better ways to contact Park Board members, such as emails. Right now, our Park Board members just have their own individual emails. They want an easier way to report graffiti, and they want a low-impact development at Cyclone because of its proximity to homes. We reshared this around the Memorial time, so I think that's what kind of brought that more out of people. They're asking for a new board with more diversity in age, and a couple of them mentioned that they don't want Cyclone to be turned into a parking lot in Memorial. However, that was only mentioned about 3 times. And that's pretty much what we've got going on with last year's budget. We were listening to the people. We replaced the play structure at Lakeside, but that's more conducive to older children. So we want to put more things in there for toddlers. So we ordered a mom and tot swing so that you can swing together. We're also looking at, we talked at our last Parks meeting, Loom had pledged $50,000 to the parks over 5 years. And I know Mr. Walker is also in talks with them. they expressed some interest. They didn't, no promises, but they expressed some interest in helping to get some new playground equipment for kids. So I just wanted to give you guys that little update on what our people are saying about our parks.
So again, the
Any
council action
questions?
request is simply to receive the survey results, the survey and the results, which was for the purpose of opening it up for council discussion, if council discussion is desired. But of course, first we need a motion and support for that.
I'll make the motion to receive the Parks Commission survey and results.
I'll support.
Okay. Motion by Brandon, support by Perkins to receive the park survey and results. Further discussion on this item? Council discussion?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a nice report.
It is.
Is there any public comment desired on this item? Seeing none, hearing none. Ms. Bigger, roll call, please.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Tyre.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. I might be incorrect, but I feel like we might be spending a little bit of time on this next item, and I would propose, if there is no objection, a very short 5-minute break.
Okay.
Without objection, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Yes. Right. It is 6:45. We'll call the meeting back to order. Item number 3, under new business, consideration of the approval of council action request to use land at Cyclone Park for the future construction of a tribute monument. Mr. Walker?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and Council. So at the February 13th council meeting, there was an item on your agenda that was asking for allocation of land to be used just for that, the construction of a monument. After much discussion, council directed this item be sent to the Parks Commission Board for their consideration. At the March 6, 2024 Parks Commission meeting, the request was made to the Parks Commission to recommend to council the allocation of land for construction of a future monument. If this item is approved, at that time then, requests will be made of the different organizations to be involved in the committee to appoint a member. Now, I have been contacted by members of the Parks Board who wish to serve on that committee. I've also been contacted by Mr. Joe Mishler, who is a member of both the American Legion and the VFW, has requested to be on that committee. But the selection of personnel for that committee, if one is to be formed, would be the function of those different organizations. From a village standpoint, besides the Parks Commission, I would envision committee membership being composed of myself, the police chief, and the fire chief, representing the first responder ends of that. And so we've done just exactly what council asked at the last meeting. We took it to the Parks Commission. They voted on it. It was approved unanimously, 7-0, to approve a recommendation of council to allocate such space. One question, or actually a couple of questions that did come up at the time were, and previous to the Parks Commission meeting, was why a monument when we have other existing monuments in the community. My response to that is this monument is different than other monuments or memorials in the community, in that this is the only monument in which a brick can be purchased in order to memorialize or to honor somebody. This also is the only monument in the community, even though it's proposed to be a joint monument with the veterans and first responders, the only first responder monument in the community. And as we talked before, the first responders have always played a real prominent role in the community, not only with the police and the fire, but also with Holly Volunteer Ambulance, who I think would be part of the tribute portion of this monument. Another question was, what about the statement that there were going to be acres of paved parking lot put in? That has not been envisioned by anybody except the graphic artist who used his own concept and presented that idea. That is not staff's recommendation, nor has it ever been put forward by staff. But the design of the monument, if approved and if a committee is formed, would be the vision of that committee. The committee then would present it back to the Parks Commission for approval or revisions, and then to council. And so, this really is a multi-step process, not just one person or one committee is going to decide all by themselves what goes in a village park, because it's on public property controlled by the village council. And so really I'd be happy to answer any questions for you, but really the long and the short of my presentation tonight is, at the February 13th council meeting, you asked that it go back to the Parks Commission. It went to the Parks Commission. They approved the concept and recommendation unanimously, and I would ask for that same approval tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. What is the pleasure of council?
As we work on the motion, how are those individuals selected? Will the non-listed individuals or the ones selected or coming from Parks and the ones from the veterans organizations, will those come back to us for approval? How is that happening?
Well, I think I've named the organizations that would be involved. I don't think that it's really council's role to approve that committee. This is really a citizen volunteer endeavor, although it's going to have some staff participation because it's on village property and with the police chief, the fire chief, and then because it's in the parks with the park commissioners. But I think the VFW, if they want to participate, they will appoint their own member.
Okay.
And the American Legion, if they want to participate, they will appoint their own member.
Okay.
Will there be a council liaison?
Pardon me?
Will there be a council liaison, or?
Well, I suppose if council wanted to have a council liaison, they could have one. I'm not really sure it's necessary. It's my understanding that there are actually, the Parks wishes to have 2 positions on the committee.
Oh, then
And
that would
so-
take care of that.
And so I think if there are 2 positions on the committee,
That would
the
take
village
care of
is
it.
well represented.
Yep.
And it comes back to us before anyhow, so.
It does, yes.
Goes to Parks and then back to us.
Right, yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Then I'll make the motion that we approve the recommendation from the Parks to form a committee consisting of the named organizations and individuals to pursue the creation of a Veterans First Responders Monument in Cyclone Park, to be taken to Parks and then Parks bringing us the final.
A second.
Motion by Kinnaman, support by Perkins, to approve the council action request. Council discussion on that item.
You're not saying anything.
I said my piece earlier. As they said, I mean, we voted for it 7-0. Now that is contingent, of course. You know, we didn't have a conceptual drawing in front of us, but it's just the idea that we would give them a plot of land in the parks and then let this committee full of first responders, veterans, come up with something that represents them.
So I just want to be clear that the composition of that committee was a part of the recommendation of the Parks Commission?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was
part of the motion.
Yeah, it was more of us just allotting that plot of land for this committee to be formed to come up with this idea.
Okay.
Within the wording of the motion, the commission approved allocation of land. So if a couple designs were presented and not approved by Parks or Council, or if the project lost steam, what does that do to this motion? Because the approval of land is already there if council approves this motion as is.
If I
What
understand
was
your-
in my wording, though?
Pardon?
What was in my wording of the motion?
I'll have to ask for that.
To form the committee,
Correct.
to
Okay.
report to Parks.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad that you pointed that out. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mr. Gildner. And is it okay if we ask for Gildner's input?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think the motion itself may answer that question. So if the motion made was not to dedicate a particular piece of land, but just to establish a committee, then that's all the motion would be.
Thank you. I didn't realize we could make a different motion than the one suggested, so thank you for circumventing my concern, Mr. Kinnaman.
It's still got to go through that process, and then we'll get back.
And then we can talk about
And
that
then we can
piece.
approve a whole thing. But
Okay.
I think to make the committee happen is your first step, and, you know, it's the positive direction for the whole thing. And this is the process that I like seeing.
Agreed.
I know it slows things down, but I think it's a healthy process.
And Mr. President, when you open it to public comment, I have a public residence comment that was sent to me earlier, if you don't mind.
Certainly. Yep. With that being said, is there any public comment on this item? Ms. Everly?
Cheryl Everly, 314 Hadley Street. I'm a person who knows that it's often a long way from a good idea to reality. And there was a big step in what Mr. Walker just outlined that was missing. I did hear buy brick, but that doesn't raise a whole lot of money. So when they come back to the parks, besides the design and besides the people who are on the committee, I think having a financial plan should be a requirement to go forward. You know, are you going to build a $2,000 monument or a $20,000 monument? Is it going to be a statue? Is it going to be, you know, a headstone? What's it going to cost, and how are you going to raise money? That should very much be part of the plan.
Is there anyone else for public comment on this item? Ms. Brandon?
Mr. Shield might be
Mr.
raising
Shield.
his hand.
Yep. Thank you.
I wasn't sure because he was kind of, were you waving?
Again, Ryan Shield, 320 LaGrange Street, Holly, Michigan. Yeah, I spoke on this before. My late dad, Larry Shield, he passed away 2 years ago. And he did put a monument in Ganshaw Park in, I don't know, a year now. That was some years ago. But anyways, he was a veteran and a member of the American Legion here in Holly. And like I said at that time, I do believe, like I said at that time, if you were sitting here tonight, I do believe that if I knew my dad as well as I did at the time, I do believe that he would be against having this particular monument going in, as am I. And because of the fact that it's not going to be very visible, and the fact that we already have 2 monuments, the one that I mentioned that my dad put in, and the Purple Heart Monument downtown. And I say all this, and I'm not against, like I said, due to the fact that my dad was a veteran, I'm not against veterans. I'm actually pro-veteran, pro-police officer, pro-paramedics, pro-firefighters, and all that. And that I just think that having that many, there are this many monuments to recognize the veterans, I think is carrying them too far, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else for public comment on this item? Mr. Love, yes.
John Love, 200 West Saginaw. I agree with this point. Put these tombstones all over the place. It doesn't make anything better. It doesn't do anything for anybody. It's just another project to put a tombstone somewhere. And it also takes up it changes the feeling of the park, of being a park, to having some, they got a flag already in that park they put up. I think it's just a waste of time and money and effort. It doesn't do anything to make this town nicer. It just makes it more tacky.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Brandon?
Let me get it open and then I'll start the timer on her. Diane Bibb, 105 Bear Street, sends, "Good evening. Cyclone Park runs along the side and back of my property. I'm here tonight to ask Village Council to take no action on the motion to plan for space of any Veterans Memorial or any memorial at this time. I watched the Parks Commission meeting and felt that the motion was rushed by Councilman Hutchins, and the motion itself was unclear and imprecise. Even when asked by public to clarify, Councilman Hutchins brushed off the question and asked for a consensus too quickly and without further discussion by board members. I further ask that President Delaney and all council members send a written notice back to Village of Holly Parks Commission and instruct them to hire a professional to lay out Cyclone Park, taking the weight of the survey that was produced by the Village Parks Commission and answered by village residents into consideration. This designer, I believe, for reasons of transparency, should be hired. I also believe that if we take a look at the mismatch design layout of Lakeside, one would agree a long-term project design for Cyclone would be beneficial. As Councilman Kinnaman stated in a previous meeting, Village Parks needs to come back with a complete plan for the park. Village Manager Jerry Walker has also stated that a more complete action plan is needed from Parks Commission in regards to their budget request. As we all know, Parks' budget is extremely small in comparison as to the scope of what our parks need. So I would further ask that after the Parks Commission does its research to find a reputable designer of parks, that the Village Council approve the fee. Furthermore, the park should be instructed to work with the designer, and this should not be added to Director Clausen's workload. I would also like to thank everyone who has been involved in the building of the new offices. I strolled by there a few days ago, and the building is quite nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and support. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 4, under new business, consideration of the approval of the purchase of a Striker Power load system.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and Council. You have before you a council action request prepared by Fire Chief Jeremy Watson. Jeremy is not able to be with us tonight because he's in paramedic training. And so he has just a few more months of that, and then he'll be joining us again on regular council meeting nights. So the fire department received a grant or a gift of $35,000 to be used towards the purchase of fire equipment. After analysis from Chief Watson along with his department personnel, they determined that the best use of those funds would be to purchase a Striker powered load system. And so what this system is, if you're not familiar with it, is it takes the gurney or the cot that a patient is loaded on, and it lifts it hydraulically up and into the ambulance, and therefore alleviates the fire personnel from that lifting and jerking. And so it really is a much better transition for the patient, but it's also a safety item for the firefighters. So a large amount of on-duty injuries by firefighters are from this lifting or this type of activity, and so this will alleviate that. So this purchase is from a single source provider. The cost is $33,507.47. So this $35,000 grant received by the fire department would more than cover the cost of this. And so Chief Watson and myself, we would request approval to purchase the Striker power lift system in the amount of $33,507.47.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Kinnaman, support by Perkins, to approve the purchase of a Striker power load system in the amount of $33,507.47, I assume?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any council discussion desired on this item?
Thank you to the anonymous donor. That's amazing, brilliant.
Was it an anonymous donor or a grant?
So the grantor, it's a private entity.
Oh, then
and
double thank you to
They wish to have their name remain anonymous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Yeah, the price is right. Is there any public comment desired on this item? Mr.
I
Shield?
have One comment.
Oh, yeah.
I had a heart attack in God, it's been 21 years ago. And the two young ladies who showed up in the ambulance couldn't get me. There was two girls. This would have been extremely helpful at that time.
Yes.
That's all I had.
All right. Mr. Shield.
Me again, Ryan Shield, 320 LeGrand Street. I'm going to touch on kind of similar to what Mr. Perkins was going to say. I had as you know, some of you, if not all of you, I'm epileptic. And I had a seizure some time ago, and in one of the ambulances that I had the unfortunate or unfortunate, however you want to word it, had to take a ride in. They had one of these in the back of it, and it made everything really seamless. And it's all they do is take the stretcher, hook it up, hit a magic button, the stretcher gurney goes up, and they take you in.
It's awesome.
And it's awesome. And on the back end of that, I'd like to definitely thank the anonymous donor, because those things are miraculous. Because it makes everything easier for the fire department and everything else. And it's a true lifesaver for somebody to say like Mr. Perkins. It would help save more lives. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Shield. Any further public comment desired on this item? All right, we have a motion and support. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 5, under new business, special event, Spring into the Shire. Mr. Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Mr. President and Council. So the date of this proposed event is April 12th and the 13th. It is a merchant-driven event for those downtown merchants who wish to have this go forward. The request is in front of you today because it's within the 60-day window. And so it would call for a fun run and certain closures in the downtown area, and it would also happen in Crapo Park. And so we would ask for your approval so that planning can continue with this event.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. If it's not clear to anybody, this is a J.R.R. Tolkien Lord of the Rings themed event, which
Who's that?
for nerds like me is really cool.
And me also.
Is there any council discussion desired on this item?
Did we make a motion yet?
Oh, no, we have not.
Go
I would
right
like
ahead.
to make a motion to approve the special event Spring into the Shire.
I'll second.
Motion by Brandon, support by
Somebody can
Perkins. Is there any council?
They're doing a fun run too, so
Oh, and Fun Run. Is that included
it's
on this?
part of it.
Okay.
It's just part of that. It's just
So,
our new passion is to do
We
runs.
got some in our Renaissance garb.
Will there be Nazgul chasing us?
I'd like to say, just acknowledge Kristen Maxwell's beautiful creative mind. This is the second event that she's started organizing, and the last one was a huge hit, the Harry Potter one.
Is there any public comment desired on this item?
What's the dates?
April 12th and 13th, they said, correct?
Yep.
That's
Yes.
it.
What month?
April 12th and 13th.
Any public comment desired? Right, seeing none, hearing none. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Brandon.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Reports. Mr. Walker.
So you have my written report in front of you. One item that I did mention in there was that of the construction of the new village office, and that is moving along, as previously stated, ahead of schedule. We anticipate to start moving furniture into the building next month.
Awesome.
And so with occupancy towards the end of April or maybe the beginning of May, but very shortly.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Gildner, anything for us this evening?
Not tonight.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Bigger, anything to add to your written report?
No, but if you run into Marlo, wish her a happy birthday. She turned 90.
Yesterday.
Wow.
Very good, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
It was a pretty good party on Saturday.
Board and commission updates and council comments. Ms. Kyer.
I pretty much filled you guys all in on the parks already. And that's about it.
Mr. Kinnaman?
Planning Commission has not met this last month. We will be meeting in about 2 weeks, so woohoo. As the Chamber of Commerce, my office has moved from the Carl Richter building in preparations for everyone vacating the building. I am now out in Crown Point Center, Fish Lake Grange Hall Road, in a space with Job's Technology Solutions.
Thank you very much.
Come and see me.
President Pro Tem Brandon.
Any excuse to go visit Bill Job and his Millennium Falcon and his, yeah. First of all, the Moose Lodge just approved pursuing a loan to purchase the building next door to them to better serve their growing membership. It's a unique opportunity, so good luck and congratulations to the Moose. And I have a lot to say about a concern of the library. And this has to do with becoming, if the village were to consider becoming a city. So I want to speak a little bit on that, just so that the public is aware. The Holly Township Library budget may be devastated if this village became a city if we don't do something to protect it. The residents of Holly City would pay less taxes than they do as Holly villagers. But $147,000 of village taxes per year helps fund the library. As a city, we would no longer pay the property tax of being a township into the library millage. The city could sign a contract with the library to regain services as city residents and pay something similar to what Rose and Springfield pay, which is approximately $4 a person. And every 3 years, they renew the contracts based on population size. If Holly City did this, they might pay out approximately $24,000 a year to the library, which is not going to make up for the $147,000 loss. And they'd have to wait some time before they could start collecting those funds. I'm not sure how long, 2 years? I don't know the answer to that. They would not be able to support their current staff during that time. The library could also pursue a millage. No one can promise a millage passing, especially right after they fulfilled a promise was fulfilled of, having less taxes. Why would they want to pick up a new millage? So let's look at the fallout. I spoke with our director, Gregory Hayes, and we looked at our budget. Our amazing staff of 9 cuts to 5. We might have to say goodbye to some children's programming. We can keep our children's library manager, Miss Debbie, but we have to fire 4 employees. Our teen participation has gone up 700% in the past 2 years, thanks to our newer teen librarian. But we might have to say goodbye to some teen programs. But we can probably keep the teen librarian manager, Miss Jessica. We can keep our adult library manager, Tina, but we might have to say goodbye to maybe to our monthly support grief group, or yoga, or meditating, gardening, or monarch seminars, or any of the other adult programming. Our remaining employees might have to say goodbye to the budgets they were just given a couple of years ago by the board. We might have to hire a new director with less experience to do all this extra work for less pay, and it wouldn't likely be someone with a master's in library science like our current director, which means we're going to say goodbye to some federal annual grants. If you or your children enjoyed our expanded Wi-Fi network during the pandemic, which covers the parking lot, say goodbye to that. They'll be cutting corners. The food bank will not have employees to run it. You will not have employees to help with faxing and copying, free computer use. And I say they because the board would be composed of township residents if it remains a township library. I live in the village. So do most of the board members except for one. The board we have now is a group of the most intelligent and dedicated people I know. I'd hate to see their talents lost in the melee along with the budget. Before we ran for library board, no one had run for those positions in years. The board was composed of people kind enough to accept reappointment. No one from the township except for that one board member, has shown interest in running for this board position in at least a decade. A quick side note on parks, township parks. We currently pay into township parks as we are part of the township. They will lose $80,000 a year should we become a city. And what happens then, I don't know. I'm not a parks guy. So if you've been enjoying our resources, such as a safe place for your elderly relatives to go and have their taxes done annually, I hope you see the value in paying taxes. I never thought I'd say this, but I enjoy paying taxes. They're funding the enrichment of our village. They're funding a sense of community in our teen population. They're funding the culture in Holly. The library is the last resource where you can go enjoy your benefits without a dime in your pocket. I'm here to represent the people that elected me, and those that voted for me know I put education and mental health first. A close second includes maintaining a village that will support all of the young families moving into the area. Young families need parks, libraries, and safeties. I chose my home in this village 5 years ago specifically because of the privileges that we pay for with our taxes. That's a police force that's intimately connected to this village, a fire department right downtown, a library with an educated staff and extensive resources, and access to parks with amenities. So if we cannot guarantee somehow maintaining the library budget, I will vote no to sending cityhood to the ballot. We do have some people working diligently on ideas to continue funding the library, and I am open to soliciting ideas from the public. Feel free to message me through my village email at abrandon@hollyvillage.org. And on a final note, the library board is investigating becoming a district library. I strongly urge everyone to give us time to have our newly hired library specialist attorneys look into this and to transition, if that's the solution we find, to be in the best interest of the village. It's complicated and long process and a worthwhile endeavor. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins.
HDC has not met, and loving the warm weather. Happy spring.
Just a couple things from myself. I neglected to mention at the very beginning of the meeting when we excused Mr. Harrington and Miss Musgrave, the reason for their absence, and that is that they were both feeling unwell. I'm required to give some reason. Regarding Haya, I had asked Mr. Harrington to raise this himself as the council liaison to Haya, but he's not here, and so I would like to share very quickly a communication I received from Miss Tina Alvarado. Dear Village of Holly Council member, so we all received this. My name is Tina Alvarado, and I am the current president of Holly Area Youth Assistance. This email is being written in request that Council have a Haya line item in its 2024-25 budget. It is with a great deal of frustration and disappointment that I am emailing Mr. Walker and the entire Village Council. For the last 16 years, the Village of Holly has failed in its commitment to support Haya financially. The village has not, in 16 years, allocated any monies to Haya from its general fund. And yet the data shows the village receiving the highest percentages of all Haya programming. The other 4 municipalities that are part of the Holly Area School District have, in a sense, been subsidizing the services and programs the families and students living in the village have received. Holly, Groveland, Rose, and Springfield townships have consistently supported Haya from their general fund, and at various times even increased their allocation to Haya. September 19th, 2017, I wrote to the Village Council requesting $3,750 as that had been the allotment previous to 2008. I included rationale and data along with my request. I received no response. Then again, on February 24th, 2022, I wrote to the entire council citing reasons and data for council to allocate monies from the general fund. And once again, I received no response. The lack of financial support from the village leads me to believe that council does not value the Haya organization. And yet, if you would check with Police Chief Narsh, Superintendent Roper, any of the school principals and counselors, or our police liaisons and the parents of the students served, and ask if Haya was a valuable asset to the Holly community, I know their response would be a resounding yes. I can tell you that the average yearly allocation to Haya from each of the other 4 municipalities is $3,406.25. I am available by phone or email if you would like any further information or have any questions. I can share data with you, and I would be happy to discuss any aspect of Haya with you. It is my sincerest hope that the Village Council will include Haya in their 2024-2025 budget. Sincerely, Tina Alvarado, Haya President. And I simply share that with you all to be thinking about that as we prepare to go into those budget study sessions. Finally, the Cityhood Committee continues to meet, and I believe we have or are going to have a representative from the MML come to present to us. Either April 1st or April 3rd, we'll hear from the Michigan Municipal League and receive their input. So the work continues there with the goal of making a presentation to council regarding pros and cons of chartering as a city. I have nothing further to add except to say Happy Patty's Day to all. Oh, thank you very much. Point of clarification. Mr. Klemp, the grant received by the DDA was in the amount of $50,000, not $50 million as reported in error by local news. Would that we had $50 million, but we do not. So, just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
That explains why they asked me about all that money at the Moose today.
Yes, yes. I would entertain a motion to enter into closed session to discuss ongoing litigation, Anna Matson versus the Village of Holly, case number 2023-200253CZ.
I will make the motion to enter into closed session to discuss ongoing litigation, Anna Matson versus the Village of Holly, case number 2023-200253-CZ.
I'll second that.
Motion by Brandon, support by Kyer to enter into closed session. Thank you very much.
We have to.
Oh, roll call.
We actually have
Did
to
I
vote.
not do that the last time?
Yeah.
I did do that the last time. Apologies. Miss Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion passes.
Richard's new office is right next to a really cool tattoo shop.
Jim.
Last night,